Hi everyone, Jennifer here from Stone Studio. This is our third video in our Wheel Basics series, and we're going to be talking about trimming. So here's a vessel that I prepared earlier. I actually threw it just yesterday, and now it is nice and leather hard, which means I can handle it without damaging it, but it's still soft enough that it can be altered and trimmed. So before we even start trimming, we need to get a sense of our vessel. We need to feel the walls and get an idea of how thick the walls and the base are. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to feel the wall, starting at the top, moving towards the bottom. And as soon as I feel it start to get thick, I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm going to make a little mark. So right about here, I can tell it starts to get a bit thick. Then I'm going to feel the floor of my vessel, and I'm going to find where the floor meets the wall. So basically that corner inside your vessel. And again, I'm going to make a little mark where the floor and the wall meet. So I've got my two marks, one on the side, one on the top, and that is just going to act as a guide as I'm doing my trimming. So what this means is I've got all this clay between those two marks that I can completely shave off and get rid of without having to worry about going too far. All right, let's dive in. So I've got my marks. I'm going to place the vessel down on the wheel upside down. I'm going to do my best, use these lines as a guide to get it centered. I'm going to turn my wheel on, and now we need to make sure that it's actually centered. So I am going to take my needle tool and I'll show you how to get this centered. I'm going to get my wheel going, not too slow, not too fast, kind of just under medium speed. I'm going to hold my needle tool really steady with both hands at about 5 o'clock, and I'm slowly going to move the needle tool towards the vessel, holding it really steady. And it's going to start to hit the vessel. There we go. Mark, mark, hit, hit. Let's stop and take a look. So there's the line. You can see we've got one end of the line there and one end there. I'm going to line that line up. I'm going to take that line and line it up so that it's facing my belly button. I'm going to put my fingers on both sides of the line, and I'm going to push the vessel away towards 12 o'clock. Now, just little micro pushes. So I'm only pushing the vessel maybe 1/2 mil, not even. Just a little bit to try and get it into the center. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a new line just underneath that first one. So I'm going to get the wheel spinning. I'm slowly going to bring my needle tool in. And we're making a new line. Hit, hit, hit. I'm going to slowly stop the wheel and find my new line. Now this time my line is quite a bit longer. It starts about here and ends all the way over here. So that means we're getting closer to the center. So I'm going to spin the wheel around, find my two ends, get it nice and lined up, and push towards 12 o'clock. Just a little bit. And now I'm going to come in, and hopefully this time the line is going to go all the way around. So I'm slowly moving my needle towards the vessel. And there we go. You can see how the line is hitting all the way around, which means the vessel is now perfectly centered. You want to make sure you're keeping your lines up towards the top. You don't want to be making lines down here at the bottom because we're working on the base of the vessel. So we want to make sure the base is centered. Now we're going to take a piece of clay and we're going to make 3 little sausages. We're going to place them around the base of the vessel. And I'm just going to gently press them down onto the wheel to secure the vessel in place. You don't want to push too hard because you don't want to damage the rim of your cylinder. All right, so we've got it centered. Now we can start trimming. First thing I'm going to do This is called a Surform. Incredibly handy little trick for trimming. This is a way to take all of this excess clay off really quickly, really easily. So I'm going to anchor down. I'm going to get my Surform and I'm going to start to take off a whole bunch of clay. All that excess clay that I know needs to go. I'm going to start just shaving it off. Look at that. In a matter of seconds, all of that clay gone. Let's come in one more time. Now keep in mind those marks where your clay starts to get thick. All right, that looks pretty good to me. So we'll put this guy away. So I'm going to take the square end of my ribbon tool and I'm going to start by marking out the inside of my foot ring. So that's going to be the inside. Now I'm going to use the corner of that ribbon tool, starting in the center, holding my tool really firm, my two hands touching, and I'm going to spiral out until I hit that line. Now I'm going to flip my tool flat, start in the center, and I'm going to smooth that over. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to take the corner, start in the center, and I'm going to spiral out towards the inside of my foot. And then I'm going to go flat and smooth. Now I know that my base wasn't overly thick, so at this point I'm going to pause. I'm going to take my finger and I'm just gently going to press down. I cannot feel any give whatsoever, which means I can probably take a little bit more off. So spiral and flatten and smooth. Let's have a little feel. Oh, I can feel some give now, so I've probably gone just far enough. So that's the inside of our foot ring. Now I'm going to do the outside of the foot ring. Now you can leave the outside of the foot ring or the outside of the vessel as is. You don't necessarily need to do an outer foot ring. You could just kind of tidy up this outside of the vessel and call it a day. So that's one option, just to do an inside only foot ring. But if you want, you can do the outside of the foot ring. So to do that, again, I'm using that square edge of my ribbon tool. I'm going to start down here and I'm just going to dig in with that corner. Whoop. Going to go a little bit lower, holding it nice and steady, and I'm going to dig in with that corner to get the outside of my foot ring. Then you can smooth that little bump away. If you want, you can round that corner out. And then you just have your finishing touches to do. So I might just make sure the base of my foot ring is nice and level. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to smooth out any of those sharp edges. Smooth out the sides. And that's how you do a little foot ring and a little bit of trimming on your vessel. Last thing to do is just peel off those sausages. Flip your cup upside down. Admire your work. So that's how you do your trimming, which concludes our 3-part Wheel Basics series. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments, or as always, feel free to pop in and we can have a throw.